Hi, it's Miss Meloy again. Happy reading. We are going to be reading the I Survived series, The Sinking of the Titanic of 1912. It is by Lauren Tarshis, and many of you were at our school when Lauren Tarshis did do a Skype reading for our Skype visit for us at Lindbergh. So I thought I'd just go 5 minutes a day and see where it takes us. Hope y'all are doing well. Okay, Chapter 1, Monday, April 15th, 1912, 2 a.m. on the deck of the RMS Titanic. The Titanic was sinking. The giant ship had hit an iceberg. Land was far, far away. 10-year-old George Calder stood on the deck. He shivered because the night, was freezing cold. And because he was scared, and he was more than scared. He was more scared than he'd ever been before. More scared when then Papa swore he'd send George to the Army Academy, far from everything and everyone. More scared even than the time the Black Panther chased him through the woods back home in Millerstown, New York. The deck of the Titanic was packed with people. Some were running and shouting, "Help us! Take my baby! Jump!" Some just plain screamed. Children cried. A gunshot exploded across the deck. But George did not move. Just hold on, he told himself, gripping the rail. Like maybe he could hold up the ship. He couldn't look down at the black water. He kept his eyes on the sky. He had never seen so many stars. Papa said that Mama watched over him from heaven. Can Mama see him now? The ship lurched. "We're going down!" a man shouted. George closed his eyes, praying this was all a dream. Even more terrible sounds filled the air, glass shattering, furniture crashing, more screams and cries, a bellowing sound like a giant beast was dying a terrible death. George tried to hold the rail, but he lost his grip. He tumbled, smashed his head on the deck, and then George couldn't see anything. Even the stars above him seemed to go black. Chapter 2, 19 hours earlier, Sunday, April 14th, 1912, 7:15 a.m., first class suite, B deck, RMS Titanic. George woke up early that morning, half expecting to hear Papa calling him for chores, but then he remembered he was on the Titanic. He was on the greatest ship in the world. It was their 5th day at sea. George and his 8-year-old sister Phoebe had spent 2 months in England with their Aunt Daisy. What a time they had! As a surprise for George's 10th birthday, Aunt Daisy took him to see the Tower of London, where they used to chop off a head if the king didn't like you. Now they were heading back to America, back to Papa and their little farm in upstate New York. George got out of bed and knelt by the ocean. George got out of bed, knelt by the small round window, and looked out of the ocean. "Morning," said Phoebe, peering through the silk curtains of her bed, fumbling in her spectacles. Her curly brown hair was practically standing straight up. "What are you looking for?" George had to smile. Phoebe always had a question, even at the crack of dawn. Maybe that's why she was the smartest little sister in the world. "I thought I saw a giant squid," George said, "and it's coming to get us." George rushed over and grabbed Phoebe with the wiggly squid arms. She curled up in a ball and laughed. She was still laughing when Aunt Daisy came in. Even in her robe and slippers, Aunt Daisy was the prettiest lady on the whole ship. Sometimes George couldn't believe she was so old. She was 22. "What's this?" Aunt Daisy called. "You know the rules. No having fun without me." Phoebe sat up and put her arms around George. "Georgie said he saw a giant squid." Aunt Daisy laughed. "I wouldn't doubt it. Everyone wants to get a look at the Titanic, even sea monsters." George halfway believed it. He'd never imagined anything like the Titanic. Aunt Daisy called the ship a floating palace, but it was way better than the cold and dusty castles they had seen in England. They had 3 whole rooms, one for Phoebe, one for George, and one for Aunt Daisy, and one for sitting around and doing nothing. They even had a man, a steward named Henry. He had bright red Irish accent and made everything he said like a jolly song. "Some fresh towels for you both," he would say, "some cocoa before bed." And just before they turned out the lights for the night, Henry would knock on their door and peep his head in. "Is there anything else you might need?" he'd ask. George kept trying to think of something. But what could you ever need on the Titanic? The ship had everything, even a swimming pool with an ocean water heated like a bath, even gold curtains while you was in your bed so you could pretend you were sleeping in a pirate's den, 3 dining rooms where you could eat anything you wanted, and last night George had eaten 2 plates of roast beef.